Oh, Brian. You pretty much have to.
You got calling to work. Eddie's also calling in now. A lot of folks are calling in because various reasons.
So we got Brian, he's gonna be on the phone.
So you have to start.
Hey, so that, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I'm on the call. It's Eddie.
Oh, hi Eddie. Thank you.
What percentage of
Hey, everyone.
Hi, Ed.
So that you don't hear any static or anything. Do I need to put it on mute, or am I okay the way it's?
No, you're okay. You're okay.
If you would enter like how much of our consumables is
Not bad.
Oh, that's right, he's not even gonna.
I don't know. I'm still waiting for Jay's.
Yeah, I know, I'm waiting for Jay's too.
So maybe tonight.
there's more things. Yeah, but they don't actually take.
One of these days we'll get Jay's for our meal.
You have to.
Eddie could just stop by the shop, pick up a whole bag of sandwiches and bring them in.
When he could do.
Until he comes this room.
I'm the cheese guy to bring the sauce and the steak. Okay.
All right.
I heard Eddie commit to building one out at Brady. Right?
I got him on the dotted line. Just working out the lease terms.
Make that red factor high.
We can
I
get
have
one,
to, I don't want
throw
anything,
in
I'm
one
giving him a
park
special
bench.
deal, so I wanna make sure we'll have to go in the opposite direction instead.
Right, that'll look good on there.
10% premium.
That's right.
He's got, also got John Hayes's.
Sounds business, man.
Not bad. How about you, my friend?
I was just telling Larry I'm busier than I want to be.
Matt, me?
All of a sudden Johnson likes this, and ProGen Health likes this, and Johnson Matthew likes this, so we spend a lot of time down in Wayne, and,
That's good.
yeah, it was good.
Judge, I figured on the bylaws. we can-
Wayne, up in Wayne County?
Down in Wayne, it's
Summary.
Oh. Sent the this morning
circulated.
for the Pike County Chamber Board meeting. Because they're one of the,
Nice trip in the rain, huh?
yeah, I actually went up last night just because never been, get my bearings. Stayed at the Faucher.
Just 30 days.
Yeah, this is just.
Like, there's a TV in the room, right? Yeah, it's very nice. It's a very nice place.
Yeah, you're not getting me back.
I'm gonna catch the second half of the football game. Nice breakfast. They breakfast that comes with their own. They make their own yogurt and they make their own granola and their quiche and then. Nice.
You know, often if I'm gonna spend 3 days in our King of Prussia office, they'll put me up at the casino.
30 days.
And that's really, really pretty good. But
I would have liked that better than this French
Oh,
place.
Get us.
it's a hotel room.
I guess
So I
that's
made
about
that
it.
change. That casino's not very well. I've got casinos anyway.
Right, he's got plenty of time, we got more than.
Well, sure, you're talking about World War II. So do I have to practice
Ready to go.
surrender?
It'll be going up, Sylvette.
Yes, sir.
I have the notice.
Is John not coming?
The amendments to the bylaw, which I will send to you, and then you can email them out
It's like
right
we
away.
just did this.
Comply with the 30-day requirement.
Oh, no, that was the committee.
Hey, dude. Hey, Matt. Hello.
Is, so bad, is John not coming? Or-
He's calling in
Chris, how
now.
you doing?
Yeah,
That's
there's
why
a
it
few
doesn't have
calling.
stuff.
I just got on the phone.
Hi, John.
Hey, John,
Hey, everybody.
I'll bring you a
Hey,
magazine.
John. So we have John and Eddie. Who else is on the phone?
Bring me the magazine.
Anyone else on the phone?
Brian's on the phone.
Brian?
Hi, Brian.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Brian. All right, 5 o'clock. Welcome to the September meeting of the Lehigh Northampton Airport Authority. Let's please start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sylvette, the roll call.
Yes, sir. Brian Dames,
On the phone?
Chuck Dicon,
Here.
Mike Dowd,
Here.
Frank Facciano,
Here,
Glenn Geisinger,
Here.
John Hayes,
On the phone.
Larry Hamburger,
Present.
Ed Lozano,
Present on the phone.
Jeff Matskin, Glenn Reedman,
Present.
Ted Rosenberger, Mike Schwer, Matt Turk,
Here.
Chris Worley, and Tara Zirinsky.
Oh, yeah.
We have a quorum.
That's a $20 fine.
By the way.
My apologies. 20 bucks. Okay, we have a quorum. All right, first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the August 28th, 2018 meeting. May I have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I'm sorry, I don't think we had no cards for public comment, so I assume this gentleman's a member of the meeting. Okay. All right. Treasurer's report. John is on the telephone, and then John has asked that Todd pick up and do this in person. So Todd, please.
I've been told by these folks I'm on a timer, so it's late.
You are on the timer.
Yeah, so.
Keep
it short.
Time's up.
But
No confusion.
when you have pretty good financials for the month, it should be short and sweet. We are favorable, $420,000 versus budget for the month of August. You can go to the next one. A lot of that, again, you'll see in the passenger traffic, it's a function of everything kind of flowing through the system. Additional passenger traffic, and then we have the leverage of our cargo business, which we've had forever. Go to the next slide, so that. Again, year to date, well over $2 million over budget. You can see we're significantly better than budget. And last year we had 2.9. We budgeted that we would have a loss to this point of the year. We're actually way ahead of schedule. We're about 2.9 million of net income. And again, a lot of that is because of increased passenger traffic, which leads to increased parking and everything going through the system. So again, good news, keep it short and sweet. You know, when you're running 2.4 million better than budget, not that much more to say other than great job. Keep going to the next slide. This is showing in passenger traffic, everything since 2011. All traffic's been positive. The best year since 2011. You see we're in the 70,000 range for the last 3 months as far as traffic, 72, 76, and 78. Again, all great news, 15.5% overall, and the legacy carriers are catching up with Allegiant. So again, great news. Trying to keep this short and sweet. Everything's going well. This is kind of a summary again, everything going well. A lot of it is we continue to manage our expenses, and net revenue's up. Again, everything's well. Now, the one thing I did want to point out, we do have some funds built in there for our settlement, for the airline settlement. Last year, as you remember, we gave about $642,000 back. So we kind of accrue some of that. I think we have $400,000 in there as an estimated settlement to give it back to the airlines sometime next year. So that's built into the revenue already. Slide down, next slide. And we're staying above our 60 days cash on hand, which is kind of our low number as far as cash. So even after 12 months, we're at 70.2. The one thing I do want to point out is that 70.2 does not include the 10 million because that's restricted cash that we have for the Hangar 11. And it also does include the money that we have set aside in bond construction reserves. So that's kind of restricted money, so that's not included in the 70.2 projected, and we're about 98 or 99 at the beginning of the month. Any questions? Again, pretty straightforward. Things are going well. I guess with that,
There's just one additional point I wanted to make to follow up on Todd's comments. Non-operating revenue continues to run strong, but I wanted to point that out specifically because it's, from our perspective, it's kind of an interesting animal. It is recurring, non-recurring revenue. It's included in non-operating revenue because it's not related to our core business of operating the airports that we operate, but we have been in the real estate development business for some time and will continue to be in the real estate development business for some time, and a good percentage of that non-operating revenue is related to the sale of easements and other real estate activities. there's a portion of it as well that was the insurance claim for the Wiley roof damage repair. So that's separated out as well. But I just wanted to point out specifically that it continues to add positively to our net earnings. And from my perspective, I consider it recurring, non-recurring.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Ed, and just great news, just wonderful, operating and financial results. I would like to just interject, though, as we go into planning for next year, let's try to get as accurate as possible on our projections for the following year. I think these last 2 years are anomalies because we came off of such depressed figures and so many major things happened in the course of the last 2 years that made it difficult to project accurately. But I think now that we're, pretty far out of the woods and we have very good visibility on our financials currently and going forward, I would just encourage us to put an even greater focus on projecting accurately. You do want to be ahead of plan, obviously, but you don't want to be too far off the mark either, positive, definitely not negative, of course. So just some guidance as we move forward, especially since we're in the planning phase, okay? But great job.
I have to make a comment on that. I mean, I heard what Eddie said about the accuracy of our financials. When we projected the budget numbers, that's based on the information we know. We put in there information, for example, we put in salary increases, additional positions that we did not hire. Had we hired those positions, those expenses would go up. Again, after we did the budget. So again, when we did the budget, it was one time with an accurate projection, conservative, but accurate. After we did the budget, we got news about the additional flights that were added for Allegiant, which added up to a lot of the additional revenue. So based on the information we had at the time, and based on worst case scenario with some of our expenses, that budget is pretty much accurate. So I'm a little adverse to the word accuracy. It's more about, hey, you know what, things have went a lot better than what we expected. And again, we are being conservative in our projections. But again, if you remember where we were last year, there was a lot of uncertainty in some of these positions, and also some of those things came in after we presented the budget.
Hey, Todd, again, this is guidance, okay? I've been there, and I just want to give you some guidance. That's all. This is not a debate, okay? So appreciate the good work. And the top line numbers are fairly accurate. The bottom line numbers aren't as such. So let's just do a little bit extra work to get those tightened up. That's all, okay? But good job.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, John. Any other discussion on the treasurer's report? If not, I'd look for a motion to so move. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, Matt, you've got some work to do on the
little bit.
Business Development Committee. There's 3 items that Matt's going to run through for us.
Significantly less than last time around. I think Tom's going to spare us the future indignities of the amount of talking that I'll have to do in future events. But real quickly, wanted to note that we did hold the Business Development Committee meeting at Braden after a really great event, doing a ribbon cutting for 2 new businesses in the park. I'm sure that'll come up perhaps in the executive director's report. But Tom, if you want to describe this first one, and then we've got a couple quick items from Ryan.
So this was in notice. We discussed a little bit about this, but if we recall last meeting, we unfortunately had to torture Matt a little bit with reading through some of the resolution language. And again, a lot of required language between grant acceptance, between the FAA and the Bureau of Aviation for the state. And so essentially what we're doing in these 2 resolutions now is providing a standing resolution that will be able to be forwarded to both of those agencies, the FAA and the Bureau of Aviation, so that they have the standard resolutions on file for our ability to go in and accept on any sorts of future grant agreements, whether they come from the Commonwealth or directly from the DOT at the federal level. So again, we're still required to bring those individual projects in front of the committee and in front of the board for approval, but it saves us a little bit on the back end in terms of our resolution process. So we thought this was a good opportunity to update the information here that both the DOT and the Bureau of Aviation have on file. So we would recommend approving those and executing those for updating signatory authority for us.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Second. Second. Any discussion? Okay, motion passes. Second one, Matt.
Thanks. Ryan's got a couple quick updates on bids that we'd like to award for work to be done at ABE. We're going to take those, Ryan?
Sure. Thanks, Matt.
Putting you on the
Happened to me
spot.
earlier. I think if you refresh it, it might go back.
Okay, hold on.
Just close it.
I'm trying also.
I heard we approved. Did we vote on that last one?
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So,
I'm better at lunch meetings.
so the next two projects are two good projects that we're looking forward to kick off here at ABE. This first one we've been talking about for some time, and actually had discussions at some of our GA committee meetings. But basically, the T-hanger pavements here at ABE, some portions are in poor, failing conditions, and others still need to be rehabilitated. So, September 19th, we did receive 3 bids for the repairs. Gaver Industries, Barker & Barker was the lowest responsive bid at $999,942. As reference, they are also one of the contractors that we have with 3-year agreements for some of our landside pavements that we entered into last year. Engineer's estimate was 1.3, so the bids came in below that. Engineer went through the bids and reviewed everything to make sure that they're in conformance with the specifications. And if you scroll down to that and open the one attachment, the project sketch. So just as a frame of reference, we bid the repairs in phases, so no one phase can be done concurrently to lessen the impacts on our tenants. But again, those are the areas. The green area on the bottom will be done first, so all the other lanes can have access throughout the construction. Looking about a 90-day construction window, do as much as we can this year, weather permitting, and then complete it in the spring of 2019. But again, it was on our capital budget, 2018 capital budget as a emergency critical project. So we're looking for approval to award the bid for the T-hanger repair to Gaver Industries, Barker & Barker.
What's the duration of the project?
About 90 days.
90 days.
Yeah.
And we had some discussion related to the work that needs to be done, not prejudicing any additional future work related to T-hanger renovations.
Correct.
There is no hanger reservation. Excuse me. There is no hanger restoration at all with this project. It's
Not as part
Yeah,
of
this
this.
is all flat.
Just the pavement, yeah.
Okay, may I have a motion to award the bid T-hanger pavement rehabilitation project?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chuck, I'm going to abstain on this vote. My bank has a banking relationship with the principal of Barker & Barker, so I should abstain.
Okay, John, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
One more on.
And Ted is on the phone.
Project.
Ted? Okay.
All right, so this next project is to upgrade the heat inside the hangar of Hangar 3. We currently have a rapid air heating unit inside the aircraft storage area of the hangar that is beyond its useful life and in constant need of repair. A lot of times in the winter months, it doesn't provide the adequate heating that's needed for our tenants. On all of our projects going forward, and really a industry standard is to use more infrared heating in the hangars to heat the objects versus the air when you got the big aircraft doors opening. So we actually received 4 bids mid-September, which was really good for this size project. The lowest bid for Liebold Incorporated at $247,800. Again, this was below our engineer's estimate, which was reviewed to be considered reasonable. And the bids that we did receive, even though it was 30% below the engineer's estimate, we did have a lot of contingencies in our estimate to cover ourselves depending on where the bids fell. Again, what we're doing with a lot of our projects now, there's a $26,000 contingency allowance as well as there was an $8,800 alternate to remove the old equipment once the new system is in service. Again, this is another critical capital budget project. It's included in the cash flow. And this one, again, after notice to proceed, is about a 90 calendar day duration project as well. So recommend approval for Liebold Incorporated from Pottsville, Pennsylvania for the.
Hangar 3 is where?
Hangar 3 is on Airport Road.
Over by Air Products?
East, yeah.
Right.
Air Products Center.
Air Products Center.
It is the Air Products Center, okay.
Yep. Yeah, and we've been coordinating with the tenants in terms of the construction impacts and the location of the units as well.
And the existing unit is fully past its useful life.
Correct.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, have a motion, please, to approve the bid for Hangar 3 infrared heating system installation.
So moved.
Second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Whoops, forgot the feedback. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Matt. Thanks, Ryan.
Here.
Finance Committee, Mike Schwer is not available this evening, so we're going to have Todd pick up the Finance Committee report as well.
This is our MMO, our minimum municipal obligation for 2019. This breaks down our defined contribution, which is our 401A, as well as our defined benefit, which is listed at the top under non-union and union. So that's the total amount that we're projecting for next year. That's the minimum that we'll pay out for 2019, $816, which is slightly less than it was for 2018. Any questions? We have to name this now. It has to be done in September for next year. Pretty cut and dry.
Okay, any discussion, any further discussion, any questions? Okay, I'd like to get a motion then for approval of the 2019 minimum municipal obligation for the pension. Frank, have a motion, second? Second, Tara, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you, motion carries. Okay, Executive Committee, yours truly. Just briefly, we had our meeting last week at Braden. We discussed some modifications to the bylaws. Judge had put out there a few weeks ago for any input on changes. We had a few of the board members come in with some suggested changes, primarily to streamline things, make life a little bit easier for the board going forward. And there's no action required on that tonight. We have a 30-day period, correct, Judge, that has to be out there. So this would be acted upon in the October Board of Governors meeting, and they'll be circulated.
They're ready to be circulated now, and Sylvette will be circulating them this week to comply with the 30-day requirement. What's being circulated is the document that has the current bylaw, the proposed amendment, and an explanation. So it's all there as to why these amendments are being offered and what the impact of the amendments are. And we will discuss it and vote on it at the next Board of Governors meeting, October 30th.
But I thank the members of the board that solicited, that put input together for us. That was helpful. Mike, John specifically, and I think going forward, it'll just make life a little bit easier for us administratively. So, okay, so we don't require any action on that?
No action today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Tom, Executive Committee, or Director's Report, rather. Sorry.
Thank you,
We
Mr.
need to
Chair.
demote you there.
You pull up the photos slideshow. So, as we mentioned, we did have great traffic set of numbers for us at ABE for August, best numbers since August of 2011. But we did also want to mention, I have a couple of pictures scrolling here, since our last meeting, we also had a couple of events at Braden, and I think, we talked about the committee meetings that we held at the temporary terminal building there, and dramatic improvement from the old terminal building, but also a ribbon cutting for two new businesses in Forks Township at Braden. Pro Flight Aero, and also Spirit Wings Aviation. So flight school and an aviation service provider. And it's just a great opportunity to really showcase both of these businesses, and kudos to the entire team on the staff for the marketing efforts just since January to have all of these businesses in place and up and running. So we were very excited to see that. We also had a Boy Scouts scout event, and it was an aviation weekend scout event this past weekend, and about 120 scouts were at the air park. You can see some pictures again here for this, working on their aviation merit badge. They had free flights courtesy of the Young Eagles program through Braden's Experimental Aircraft Association chapter, and so I think we said about 107 scouts took advantage of the free flights. So just occasionally we get good weather here in the Lehigh Valley, and it was a great opportunity to get the Boy Scouts there and participate in a great event. You can see how many attended, so just really phenomenal things going on at Braden. So not to exclude the equilibrium match, the polo match at Braden, that was on September 16th, another good weather day. So sun continues to shine at Braden. We also have our TSA pre-check enrollment. And that's going on right now. Started the 24th, and that runs through October 5th. So if you're interested at this point, we've already signed up over 7,300 participants into that pre-check program here. In terms of upcoming events, we do have a Fear of Flying seminar, just to keep those traffic numbers moving. So we've got a seminar happening here tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. and looking forward to that event. We also have another run on the runway, another 5K, our Winged Warriors program. So that's coming up September 13th, actually October 13th, correct? October 13th, excuse me, and that's at 7 a.m. That benefits the Pediatric Cancer Foundation of the Lehigh Valley. So it's $25 in advance. You can sign up to run on the runway. Very popular last year. We're looking forward to that, again this year. Also wanted to mention we'll be pushing some information out about the Real ID program, Pennsylvania's Real ID program. Currently, the current authorization or extension from the Department of Homeland Security on our driver's licenses expires October 10th of 2018. We fully anticipate that the state will receive, they've already submitted their application, will receive an update, another one-year extension into October of 19 that allows you to continue to fly with your standard driver's license. But in order to help folks get a Real ID if they're interested, we are working with the department, and we're hopeful to have some pop-up stations here. They're working on mobile ID verification units. You can bring your documents with you, things like your social security card, other documents. You'll be able to do that right here at the terminal. That'll enable you to get a Real ID as soon as we're looking at maybe March of 2019 is the projection at this point. And right now we're also awaiting to hear more news on the reauthorization of the FAA bill. And again, we have authorization through Sunday, through September 30th, and we know that the House is planning on taking some action on it on Wednesday, and hopefully back to the Senate later in the week, but we may need some short-term extension here to get us through. So we're optimistic that that's going to move through. It's a 5-year proposal to extend the AFP authorization, and that would run over the next 5 years. So. Really some interesting things moving. Last thing I wanted to mention is yesterday we had a surprise audit by Allegiant Airlines, and Allegiant does pop-up audits from time to time, regulatory compliance audit, customer service audit. And once again, our team received a perfect audit. So I wanted to say thank you to Tommy and the department. Perfect audit. The inspector commented that this is only the 5th perfect audit that they've awarded in over 3 years. So we always feel lucky to have the folks that we have here.
We've got 2 of them, right?
Absolutely. This just continues to roll through here for us. So we're really excited. So thank you again, staff. So that concludes my report. Happy to answer if there are any questions.
Any questions for Tom?
Registration for the run on the runway.
Yes.
Where are we with that? Are we ahead of pace?
A little better than last year.
Yeah.
Right now, we are right around 100. We had 90-some last year,
We're
so
ahead of last year already.
We're ahead of last year
They're still
already.
coming in.
Still coming in.
Nice.
And you can still register the day of the race.
Yeah, I get it.
$35 on the day of.
we had quite a few registered.
So what do you think, 120, 150?
We're hoping for at least 200,
Huh.
so. Or, you
I
know,
know my wife's coming with a group, so.
Right. And it may be weather dependent for
Cheer
some.
them on.
yeah, it seems to be that last year.
7 a.m., you're gonna be there to cheer one?
We had a lot of registrations last minute. last year.
We're making breakfast for when they're done, one of those things.
Great.
Chuck, this is Brian Dames. Can I ask a question to Tom?
Yes, sir.
Tom, do you are you able to do you have much contact with the air traffic controllers?
We do. We do have a very good relationship
Okay.
with them.
Would you just pass on a thank you to them because this weekend they have that presidential TFR into place, and I know that your staff has done a lot of work to try to get a cutout or to try to do a couple different things. But the air traffic controllers were in conjunction with the pilots over there were able to work out a set flight plan, and they were very accommodating, and that's the only reason that worked because last year they tried and we were shut down. And so if you could just pass on a thank you to the air traffic controllers because they made that fly-in work, even with the TFR, through their procedures. So anyway.
Great. No, happy to do that and happy to hear, again, sounds like it was a very successful event, and so that's fantastic news. So we'll certainly do that.
That just affects Braden?
It does.
Is that Trump National? Okay.
Yeah.
It does.
Everything else is west of the area, but we're, 3 miles into the TFR. It was funny because I was going out, Brian, IFR that day, and I had to get a release from the TFR, and all the planes were in the pattern running the Boy Scouts. I had a hard time getting out. But I did, but thank you. Yeah, Tom, I wanted to say as well, I had the, following up on the Queen City celebration, which was outstanding, the 3 events at Braden, I had the opportunity to attend the polo match, which was well attended, very enjoyable, great weather day. I was at the ribbon cutting, of course, and we had a lot of the politicos out there, both state, local, and municipal employees, and everyone got up to the podium and had a few words over there, and then the Boy Scout was phenomenal, as Brian mentioned. And Brian, thanks for sending the photographs around. But great event, well attended. I was going to go over there that night with my bear suit, but Ed Deacon reminded me that a few of the adults are
Armed for bear.
are concealed carry permits, so I shouldn't do that. But no, 3 great events for the airport. Following up on the Queen City, I just want to thank the staff for all the work that goes into that, and just as in addition to the passenger traffic numbers and the finances, it's just another feather in the cap. So keep up the good work. Okay, Judge, Solicitor's report.
Well, I've covered what I wanted to discuss a few moments ago when we talked about the bylaws, so I don't have anything additional.
Okay, and then nothing in executive session today?
Nothing required, thank you.
Okay, world record, then I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.